I guess my PPTs are visible, sir.
Yeah, visible. Okay.
So, very good afternoon to this wonderful audience. So, myself, Dr. Meenakshi, and today my topic of presentation is 5G and its evolution towards 6G. So, I'm presenting this under this FDP, which is of Nanoelectronics and RF Engineering. So, these are the key points that we'll be covering today. First, introduction, 5G enabling technologies, energy efficient radio resource management, new architecture and deployment paradigm, general energy, green energy exploration, open issues and research opportunities, evolution of 5G towards 6G, conclusion. So let's start with the introduction. So before moving towards green 5G and 6G, let me just have some provide you some idea or some flavor of 5G. So with the fast penetration of smartphones, tablets, or iPads in recent years, data traffic on mobile network has increased significantly. So to deal with the explosive traffic growth, network operators have to expand their network capacity continually, which leads to increased capital expenses. So meanwhile, the large energy consumption of mobile network has become a significant challenge to sustainable development. So, as mentioned in few white papers, 5G is supposed to support 1,000 time traffic increase in coming 10 years, and with the energy consumption around half of the 4G. So, thus we need 2,000 times increase on energy efficiency. So that's why in this particular presentation, I'll discuss more about the green 5G. Okay. So my main area is green 5G, or you can say we'll talk about energy efficiency of 5G, and then we'll provide you some introduction about the sixth generation. So energy efficiency, you can say that has been determined as one of the key objective of 5G system. To realize sustainable 5G, various new technologies have been proposed to reduce conventional energy consumption. So green 5G sources are explored to reduce the dependency on conventional energy. Of course, we have lot many, methods by which we can, do the conventional energy that we'll discuss later on. So, but we need to, explore many new areas in green energy also. It enables, so this enables research on radio resource management, architecture, deployment paradigm, green energy harvesting, and smart grid integration. So the main, the theme of this presentation is to give you some takeaway from this presentation. That's why you can find some, area of research or, kind of area that in that you can work upon for your MTech, for your PhD. So this is my main, intention. So the 5G enabling technologies, we can divide into two main major parts. First is the conventional energy, and second is the green energy. So saving conventional energy and exploring green energy. So by combining these two techniques, we can enable 5G enabling technologies. Okay. So first we'll discuss about to save conventional energy. So we have two methods by which we can save conventional energy. First is efficient radio access resource management, and second is new architecture and deployment paradigm. All these subheadings we'll discuss later on while we covering this in detail. The second is exploring green energy. So exploring green energy, it's a new area in which we can work upon. So first is energy harvesting. You must have heard of energy harvesting techniques. Second is smart grid enabled. So these are the new areas in which research can be done to explore the green energy. Okay, so in efficient radio access management, we have energy efficiency and spectral efficiency trade-off, dynamic cell operation, D2D, UDN, massive MIMO, millimeter wave. These are the areas that comes under efficient radio access resource management. While in network architecture and deployment, we have traffic offloading, caching and edge computing, CN assisted scheduling, CRAN and NFP. So this we'll discuss in coming slides. So first we'll talk about energy efficient radio resource management. First topic of this particular head is the trade-off of energy and spectrum efficiency. So a second is dynamic radio cell operation. Third is energy efficiency introduced by device to device, that is D2D. Second, energy efficiency of massive MIMO. I mean, you must have heard about MIMO, which is a very commonly used in 4G and 5G techniques. Energy efficiency of millimeter wave, energy efficiency of ultra dense network, energy efficiency on 5G new radio in 3GPP. So these are some radio resource management on which we can think upon the energy efficiency part. So let's move on to first, which is energy efficiency and spectral efficiency. Most of you know about spectral efficiency, but let me just introduce this with you. So spectral efficiency was addressed by many scientists, which is a key objective of legacy of mobile system to cope with explosive traffic growth with limited spectrum resource. There are many, intelligent power control and interface management mechanisms which are there to improve the spectral efficiency towards the limit, as which has been pointed out by Shannon's theory. So we have displayed few equations here. So first is R equals to W log 2 1 plus P upon W n naught. Second is eta SC log 2 1 plus P upon W n naught. Third is eta EE W log 2 1 plus P W upon P upon W n naught upon P. And eta EE, there is a relationship between eta EE and eta SE, which is eta EE is equals to eta SC upon 2 raised to the power eta SC minus 1 and naught. So these are the few equations by which you can mathematically formulate spectral efficiency and energy efficiency. Eta SE represents spectral efficiency, eta EE represents energy efficiency, where R is the transmission data rate. Okay, and this we are talking about AWGN channel. Okay, relative wide Gaussian noise channel. Of course, if we talk about some different channels, so these formulations will be different, but here we are talking about for AWGN channel. So in this particular equations, PWN naught denotes transmitter power, spectrum bandwidth, and noise strength. Eta SE and eta EE are the spectral efficiency and energy efficiency. Equation 4 represents the relationship between energy efficiency and spectral efficiency. And equation 4, you can see that EE is a monotonic decreasing function of SE. So that's why here comes the trade-off between energy efficiency and spectrum efficiency. So we need to optimize one metric at the cost of degrading the other metric. Okay, so I mean, we cannot say that we only think about energy efficiency. Of course, we need to think about spectral efficiency also. So that's why from this equation we can see that there is a trade-off. Because of this parameter, there is a trade-off between energy efficiency and spectrum efficiency. So given the emerging 5G radio technologies like full duplex, device to device, massive MIMO, millimeter wave backhaul, and ultra dense network, the radio interference environment of 5G will be much more complex. Okay, so more work are necessary to develop a unified framework to have a comprehensive understanding on the balance between spectral efficiency and energy efficiency in a new radio environment. So here there is a graphical representation which I have taken from one of the paper in which you can see the trade-off between energy efficiency and spectral efficiency. So energy efficiency is the unit of energy efficiency. Here you can see it is bits per joule, and unit of spectral efficiency is taken as bits per second per hertz. So it is showing the trade-off. Okay, if we are increasing spectral efficiency, energy efficiency is also increasing, but at a certain instant of time, let's say after 6, you can say that it is quite decreasing. I mean, we are increasing spectral efficiency, but at the same time, your energy efficiency starts decreasing. So that's why, I mean, this is the point that we have to think upon This is the trade-off that we have to form to have a balance between energy efficiency and spectral efficiency. So now let's talk about new architecture and deployment paradigm. So the areas that comes under new architecture are traffic offloading, mobile caching and edge computing, core network assisted scheduling, energy efficiency control framework, cloud RAN, network function virtualization. So these are the few areas which comes under new architecture and deployment paradigm. So first we'll talk about traffic offloading. So traffic offloading, it has been widely used to alleviate or to remove the bottleneck of cellular access and to balance the load among different wireless technologies like third generation, fourth generation, or 3G, 4G, and Wi-Fi. So this is a technique by which we can remove the bottleneck that we already face in cellular access, or by which we can make a balance among different technologies, which includes 3G, 4G, and Wi-Fi. Second, the access network discovery and selection function defined by 3GPP is an important mechanism for traffic offloading between 3GPP access networks and non-3GPP access networks. So usually the offloading policy is made by a core network, which is based on context, info from different wireless access networks, strategies from operators, and QoS requirement of the users. Traffic offloading can be used to reduce the traffic from a specific RAN function. RAN is radio access network functions or core network functions to improve energy efficiency. So by which, to optimize this traffic offloading, we can enhance or we can increase energy efficiency by reducing the traffic from specific RAN functions. The next area that comes under new architecture is mobile caching and edge computing. So under this mobile caching and edge computing, it is actually if we do by placing the caching servers closer to the users, that is at the network edge, a large amount of replicated content delivery across the mobile network can be avoided. So accordingly, the network bandwidth consumption and associated energy consumptions are reduced. Caching functions can be integrated into RANs or core networks. The caching policy is usually controlled by a management system. The caching function placement strategies have significant impact on energy efficiency, user experience, and cost. So next we'll talk about core network assisted scheduling. Okay, this also comes under new architecture and deployment paradigm for 5G. So to reduce energy consumption of mobile network and user equipment, which is UE, 3GPP has initiated related work since release 12. Okay, so there are many initiatives that that are being done by to reduce energy consumption of mobile network and also of the user equipment. From end-to-end perspective, traffic characteristics and quality of service requirement of applications are important factors influencing the energy efficiency of the communication system. The frequent small data traffic exchange over the air interface results in high signaling and radio resource scheduling overhead, which seriously impact the energy efficiency of network and user equipments. So this is all about energy efficiency. Now, to improve spectrum efficiency or to improve the total system efficiency, 3GPP has proposed the mechanism as a core network assisted radio parameters tuning. In addition, by exploring the special characteristics of high latency communication, 3GPP has proposed several mechanisms to improve energy efficiency by leveraging trade-off between latency and energy efficiency. So next, we'll talk about energy efficiency controlled framework. So to facilitate coordinated strategies for maximizing energy efficiency of 5G system and avoid fragmented implementation of energy efficient management and control, 3GPP identifies an energy efficient framework which aims to be technology and network architecture agnostic. The framework can be integrated with existing network and future 5G network by extending quality of service policy and charging control functions. So by having controlled framework, we can increase energy efficiency. Next, we can improve energy efficiency with the help of Cloud RAN. Okay, that is C-RAN. So C-RAN is recognized as a promising paradigm, to improve the energy efficiency of 5G network. Okay, C-RAN is basically the Cloud RAN. Okay, so C-RAN is it has been, it is actually based on the idea that many radio functions performed in the base stations are transferred to a centralized data center and implemented by a software. The centralization of the baseband processing leads to more energy efficient cooling. So mobile network operator mobile and KT estimate around 70% power saving by deployment of C-RAN. Although many studies have addressed the possible energy efficiency gains with C-RAN, there are a lot many research has been done under this area to deploy this heterogeneous C-RAN to improve both energy efficiency and spectral efficiency. Okay, so with the help of heterogeneous C-RAN, we can enhance spectral efficiency as well as energy efficiency performance. Besides a reconfigurable solution, which was proposed by one scientist to improve energy efficiency of C-RAN by flexible virtual base station resource provisioning and allocation according to the fluctuating user demand. So, it will be kind of dynamic. So, by providing some dynamic, information, we can control or we can utilize the base station resource and allocate them accordingly. So if there is a fluctuation in demand, so we can efficiently utilize that base station. Okay. Also to provide remote radio heads and baseband processing resource to users efficiently, a holistic framework is proposed by one of the scientists for energy efficient C-RAN. In this, jointly optimizing hybrid clustering and computational provisioning. So there are many, research which has been done under this Cloud RAN, and to provide a kind of dynamic system so that your energy efficiency of a complete 5G network can be efficiently utilized, or efficiency can be improved. And next, we'll talk about network function virtualization. So NVF is, the aim of this NVF is to transform the way that network operator deploy and operate network services with cloud computing and virtualization techniques that make it possible to consolidate various equipments into industry standard servers, switches, storage, etc. Also, by decoupling software fluctuations from the dedicated physical equipment, NVF is expected to improve the service agility of traditional network and provide short time to market. In addition to one of the appealing benefit, which is better energy efficiency, the hardware type as well as the higher resource utilization is also there. So you can say that by using this network function virtualization, we can improve the energy efficiency. There is a lot of research under this area also. Okay. So here you can see this RAN and core network. Okay. This is the core network and this is RAN. And here this is traffic scheduling assistant information, which is given from this PGW to this RAN. Okay, here we have the users. This is the traffic shaping policy generation, which is based on app traffic pattern info, app status info. Okay, this is traffic shaping policy enforcement and assistant info generation, which is there. And here this is app traffic exchange frequency info, app status info, quality of service information is there. Okay. Okay, so this is all about network deployment. Here we can see that energy efficiency policy management, which is interrelated with energy efficiency control coordination. It is also interlinked with the energy efficiency profile management. Okay, and there are energy efficient control operations. Okay, which is first energy efficiency optimization entity, energy efficient by EE metering. Okay, so here you can see that these are the operations for here we have shown only for 3, but it can be multiple. So by manage energy efficiency policy management and coordination and profile management, we can optimize energy efficiency entity individually. Here you can see the 5G core network. Okay, this is we can see backhaul C plane, backhaul U plane, backhaul U plane. Okay, this is backhaul C plane. So these here we have shown different layers: a physical layer, MAC layer, RLC, RRC. Okay. Okay, so BB is the basically base band unit, and BS is base station, of course, you must be knowing about that. RBU is radio baseband unit, PPU is packet processing unit, and RRU is remote radio unit, and RCU is radio control unit. So there are, here you can see different blocks. So baseband unit, in baseband unit, you can see that 5G RRC is there. Okay, and this is front hall, which is connected with the front hall, and these are the different layers. Okay, then this is a front hall RRU, a 5G RF, which is connected with BBU. BBU is baseband unit again. Okay, then this is next, which is RBU, which is connected with BBU. Okay, and then all these are interlinked with the PPU and RCU. Okay, so this is very complicated kind of 5G core network. This is very much different with the 4G and 3G network. So here you can see, which is we have a flexible radio function split and deployment. Why we have kept this flexible? Just to ensure to have maximum energy efficiency. I mean, we are not fixing here the services which your base station is providing. We are actually making it more dynamic, so that as when an service is required, we can deploy one base station and we can deploy the services to that subscriber. Now we'll talk about the green energy exploration part. Okay. So in green energy, first we'll talk about environmental energy harvesting. So environmental energy harvesting, it refers to harvesting green energy from natural sources, okay, such as sun and wind. That's we all know already. So, but due to the random availability of energy sources, the biggest challenge of powering communication system by energy harvesting is the unreliable energy provision at any given time. So as we know that if we are going with the natural resources like sun and wind, you cannot ensure that each and every time your communication system will be having the energy from these sources. Okay. In contrast to traditional network, the network powered by energy harvesting must work under certain energy constraints. Okay. So that's why there are two types that roughly we can characterize in environmental energy harvesting. First is offline and second is online. So offline based approach and online based approach. So most initial works that already been done were on the offline mode approach. Which is actually in which approach there is an assumption that the amount of energy harvested at any given time can be known in advance. Okay, so this is offline. I mean in which you think like that you have been provided all information about that the energy harvested amount is well known in advance. Okay, so but this is somewhat unrealistic, because I mean every time you cannot provide the energy consumption in advance. So we have to move on online techniques. Okay, so in online is actually it is a live information technique, okay, or approach. Due to the random availability of energy sources, the biggest challenge of powering communication system by energy harvesting is the unreliable energy provision at any given instant of time. Okay. So basically in 5G system, what we need, it requires that your 5G system should be able to deal with the imperfect knowledge of environment energy status. Because if we go for offline, then we should know in advance that how much, power requirement is there. But in 5G, because of imperfect knowledge of environmental energy status, we have to think something different. Therefore, it is natural to integrate energy harvesting networks with a smart grid system, okay, where various energy sources can be utilized in a complementary manner. So let's move on to RF energy harvesting. So what is this RF energy harvesting? Although participants, this RF energy harvesting is a very, interesting area of research, and as we all, talk about energy efficiency or green energy, so this is very commonly used research area. So if you want to have, research, you can utilize this particular area, energy harvesting. So harvesting energy from radio signals over the air, which can transform the harmful interference to a valuable source of electromagnetic waste power. Joint energy harvesting with wireless power transfer enables network nodes to share with others. By this, it is possible to redistribute the total energy in network nodes and prolong the lifetime of nodes with low energy. Okay, so basically both offline and online methods are considered to find the resource allocation policy that can maximize the energy efficiency. This we do in RF energy harvesting. Okay, basically few authors also studied about the radio resource allocation in an orthogonal frequency division multiple access network. Okay, so few area are also there in which OFDMA can be incorporated with the smart grid, okay, to harvest the base stations. Okay, so joint energy efficiency, joint energy harvesting with wireless power transfer enables network nodes to share energy with others, by which it is possible to redistribute the total energy in network node and prolong the lifetime of the node with its low energy. To basically alleviate the randomness of the RF energy resource availability, it is feasible to deploy dedicated beacon in the network, and that acts as wireless energy sources. Okay, so this approach can be deployed by adding energy signals on communication signals, resulting in the simultaneous wireless information and power transfer. So this simultaneous wireless information and power transfer is known as SWIFT, SWIPT. So SWIFT is a new technology which is there in the smart grid, which is actually simultaneous wireless information and power transfer. So it provides advantage of delivering efficient on-demand wireless information and energy concurrently. Okay, so this is all about RF energy harvesting, although it's a big topic to discuss. Let's move on to smart grid enabled green network. Okay, so this smart grid enabled green network comes out with the introduction of green energy harvesting and advanced wireless energy transfer, which is the future of 5G system. Okay, and it can be looked as a network integrated with a small smart grid. A promising direction is to integrate 5G network with a smart grid system. In the new integrated system, not only network service availability can be improved, but also traditional power consumption can be reduced. Okay, so by which you can say that new technology you can incorporate for energy efficiency. Also, the traditional methods that we already have, so the consumption of power can be reduced by all those traditional methods. Okay, so there are a few open issues and research opportunities that you can see, which are based upon all the points that we have discussed. First is to leverage the strength of machine learning, comprehensive energy consumption model can be formed to consider UE and network altogether. Emerging technology and network structure, practical network environment and traffic. So these are few open areas or issues which are there in green 5G. There are many others. First is the coverage issues. Second is emerging application challenges. Third is D2D challenges and vulnerabilities, mobile edge computing issues, and open or smart RAN. That we have to think. Next is network orientation and slicing. So these are few emerging areas of 5G research that we have discussed from this slide and this slide. These are the few research areas or issues in 5G that are there. Okay. So let's wind up about green 5G, and as I have introduced a few slides of 6G evolution also in this, although this is completely area of research which is 6G evolution. So let's have a look of 6G evolution. So before going for 6G evolution, we should have a quick recap of a set of 5G requirements. So this you all must be knowing. Just for your knowledge, I'm repeating again that the data service that 5G is expected to provide is 1 to 10 Gbps connections to endpoint in the fields. Next, 100 times network energy efficiency is there. Then support mobility of 500 km per hour. Next is area traffic capacity of 10 Mbps per square meter. The next is 1 million number connected devices per square meter. See, such a huge data traffic is there in 5G. Also 3 times spectrum efficiency. So here you can see participants that we are talking about 100 times network energy efficiency and 3 times spectrum efficiency. So this is the much need of an hour. This is a need of an hour of this 5G that we have to have deploy and a kind of network which is more energy efficient as compared to 4G. A 1 millisecond end-to-end round-trip delay latency. This is that kind of delay latency that is expected from our 5G requirements. So these are few sets. Okay. Now, if we go for evolution of 5G towards 6G, so 5G has demonstrated vast potential in paradigm-defining techniques such as network softwareization, virtualization, massive MIMO, ultra-densification, introduction of new frequency bands, numerous burgeoning application and verticals. Sir, am I audible? I hope my connection is not lost.
No, madam, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So numerous burgeoning applications and verticals are there in evolution from 5G towards 6G, which are virtual and augmented reality, which is VAR, e-commerce, contactless payments, machine-to-machine communication, enhanced mobile broadband. So these are few paradigm shifted potential that has been given by 5G where it has already been deployed. Now 5G to 6G, if you go, then next generation VAR, that is holographic teleportation. It requires Tbps level data rate and microsecond level latency. See, here we talk about a few applications or the verticals that are there with the 6G. So first is virtual and augmented reality, that is VAR. So the next generation, for the next generation VAR, it is actually holographic teleportation. And to have this application, we need a speed of Tbps. Okay, so that is the expectation of 6th generation mobile communication or the wireless communication. And you can see the latency level, it is a kind of microsecond level latency that is the requirement of 6G. Next is increasing industrial automation and move from industry 4.0 to the upcoming Industry 10.0 paradigm. Okay, so here you can see a new terminology which comes out, which is Industry 10.0. Okay, next there is a push connectivity density well beyond 10 to the power 6 kilometer metric that 5G is designed for. An increase in the connection density will also be result in demand to improve energy efficiency. Of course, energy efficiency will never be lost; it will always be there. So, I mean, it is going parallel with 5G, with 6G, and so on, and beyond 6G. So, while ITU sector is working on a set of official recommendations for the KPI metrics for 6G, the tentative values that have appeared in the public domain recently are mentioned in the coming slide, which are the expected KPIs of 6G network, which are designed by ITU. ITU is a company which basically decide all the specifications and the standardizations that are there in the communication that is basically in the telecommunication field. Okay, International Telecommunication Union. So these are few KPIs, or which are the key performance indicator of 5G and 6G. And for 6G, these are actually the expected KPIs of 5G and 6G. Okay, so first is the system capacity. So if we talk about system capacity, the peak data rate in terms of Gbps is expected to be 20 Gbps in 5G and 1000 Gbps in 6G. Experienced data rate. So this is experienced data rate in Gbps is 0.1 in 5G and 1 Gbps in 6G. Then peak spectral efficiency. Peak spectral efficiency in terms of bits per second per hertz for 5G is 30 and for 6G is 60. So I'll again tell you, like, these are the expected KPIs, right? So which are being proposed by the ITU. Experienced spectral efficiency is 0.3 in 5G and 3 in 6G, which is in bits per second per hertz. Maximum channel bandwidth in gigahertz, it is 1 gigahertz for 5G and 100 gigahertz for 6G. Area traffic capacity in Mbps per meter square, it is 10 for 5G and 1000 for 6G. The next is connection density. Connection density means number of devices per kilometer square. So it is expected to have 10 to the power 6 devices per kilometer square in 5G and 10 to the power 7 devices per square meter in 6G. System latency. So system latency is end-to-end delay, right? So we all know about latency. It is end-to-end delay. So I mean, this delay is in millisecond. It is 1 millisecond in 5G. Whereas in 6G, what we expect to have 0.1 millisecond in 6G. Delay jitter in millisecond, which was not there up to 5G, but it has been introduced in 6G. So this delay jitter will be 10 to the power minus 3 milliseconds, which we expect in 6G. Next, we talk about system management. So all above were the system capacity. Now we'll talk about system management. So if we talk about system management, then energy efficiency would be in TB per joule. So here you can see it is NA. NA means we cannot expect such a huge energy efficiency in 5G. Whereas this is the major expectation or KPI of 6G to provide 1 TB per joule. Such a huge energy efficiency which is expected to have with 6G. Then reliability. Reliability is packet error rate. So packet error rate is 10 to the power minus 5 for 5G and 10 to the power minus 9 for 6G. Then mobility. Mobility in kilometer per hour. Okay, so it is 500 in 5G, okay, and 1000 kilometer per hour in 6G. So these are various KPIs that we have discussed for 5G and 6G. Now to achieve, the KPIs that are highlighted in table will require revolutionary breakthrough across all the domains of wireless communication. See, we cannot go for one thing. We have to go parallel, right? We have to think about our energy efficiency techniques. We have to think about spectrum efficiency technique. We have to think about device. We have to think about user equipment. So all the things will go side by side. All the these parallels or the blocks will go in parallel with each other. We cannot talk about only data rate, right? We have to talk about everything. So that's why there should be, or this is the need of breakthrough research in all the domains which are related to wireless communication. And what are those domains? So new spectrum usage and radio design paradigms. Okay. Then novel network architectures, increasing intelligence and automation, enhancing network coverage beyond the terrestrial domain. Okay, so this is the next need of an hour, which is beyond terrestrial domain network coverage. So up till now, we talk about the terrestrial communication. If we talk about mobile communication, we talk about the terrestrial communication. See, we have a different set of communication for satellite, for space, right? But if we go beyond 5G, then we have to, go beyond terrestrial communication, or we have to enhance our network, which will provide you beyond terrestrial coverage, right? There are several enabling solutions for these above issues. First is network operating at the terahertz band with the abundant spectrum resources. Then intelligent communication environments that enables a wireless propagation environment with active signal transmission and reception, pervasive artificial intelligence, large-scale network automation. All spectrum reconfigurable front end for dynamic spectrum access, ambient backscatter communications for energy savings. Next is the Internet of Space Things enabled by CubeSats and UAVs. Okay, cell-free massive MIMO. Okay, so these are few expectations or the few different domains or the changes that are in demand for the beyond 5G communication. Three very promising technologies that are expected to shape the future of communication, and yet these are not well matured for 6G are the Internet of Nano Things, Internet of Bio Nano Things, and quantum communication. These are the three emerging areas which we talk while we talk about beyond 5G. Okay, Internet of Nano Things, Internet of Bio Nano Things, and quantum communications. So in this particular slide, you can have everything on one show, right? So these are key enabling technologies for 6G and beyond. Okay, the dotted line are the key, are the areas that are not very much matured or that are very much in initial phases. Which are quantum communication, Internet of Things, Nano Things, and Internet of Bio Nano Things. Okay, so the others are cell-free massive MIMO communication, terahertz band communication, intelligent communication environments, pervasive artificial intelligence, network automation, Internet of Space Things with CubeSats and UAVs, ambient backscatter communication, reconfigurable front-end dynamic spectrum access. So these are few emerging areas or enabling techniques by which we can have an imagination about 6G and beyond. The use cases that were best served by 5G system were 5G introduced the targeted use cases intended to serve a wide variety of applications that were enhanced mobile broadband, URLLC, which is ultra reliable low latency communication, and massive machine type communication. So these are the use cases which were served by 5G system. Now the use cases that are best served by 6G system would be so emerging use cases are, first you can see if you talk about autonomous vehicle, Okay, then we can talk about smart infrastructure, in which in smart infrastructure we have UAVs, we have space connectivity, we have autonomous vehicle. So all these things comes under smart infrastructure. Then holographic teleportation. This is also an expected technology that are there with the 6G and beyond. Next is Industry 10.0. So Industry 10.0 is the upgradation of Industry 4.0, in which we talk about smart environments, remote healthcare, industrial automation, precision agriculture. So all these sub technologies comes under Industry 10.0, and these altogether will gives you the emerging use cases for 6G systems. Okay, so multi-sensory holographic teleportation, real-time remote healthcare, autonomous cyber physical systems, intelligent industrial automation, high-performance precision agriculture, space connectivity, smart infrastructure, smart environment. Okay, so these are the use cases of 6G. Now, as we expect that in 6G, we talk about the terahertz band communication. So here, just for your information, I have keep one slide in which you can see the terahertz band, which is going from 10 to the power 11 to 10 to the power 13. Okay, so the terahertz band offers hundreds of gigahertz usable spectrum resource for wireless communication, links in long, medium, short, indoor, and near field range. Why we are moving for this terahertz band? Because if you talk about up to 5G, then your normal gigahertz range is already been occupied. Okay, so there is a lot of traffic of mobile communication, space communication, and satellite communication which is there in this particular range. So that's why we have to think about this terahertz band communication range. Of course, if we go for terahertz band communication, then we need to think upon the devices, the components that should be compatible enough with this particular band. So that's there is a need of this particular time to have some more research on device level also. This is technological evolution, which you can see, in which we are going from 1G to 6G. So although we must all be knowing about this, but just have a brief intro about this. In first generation, we were there with FDMA, which was purely analog. Then in second generation, we converted from analog to digital. Okay, and the main technique was TDMA there. In third generation, we have switched from TDMA to WCDMA. And in fourth generation, we talk about OFDM or MIMO-based turbo coding, IoTs we talk. Then in fifth generation, we talk about ELTE plus NR. Okay, so NR is new radio, LTE is long-term evolution. So these techniques are OFDM-based, CMW and MMW, millimeter MIMO, LDPC, polar coding. So these are few technologies that were that are involved with 5G. Now, if we go for 6G, then what will be future RATs? So that is the area under research. I mean, we cannot say anything about this because this is a future, right? ENR. So what will be the changes in this ENR? What will be the RATs would be there? So that we need to think, and we have to do a lot of research on this. But what we expect that it would be OFDM based and or new waveform, maybe like OFDM come, then so a new waveform can come with CMW and millimeter wave and terahertz, and also it needs extreme coverage. So new network topology would be required. Further enhanced millimeter MIMO, enhanced URLLC, MTCs are required. Okay, and what we need AI for everywhere. So 6G will be a combination of new technologies and enhancement to bring big gain in terms of the coverage, in terms of all the services. What is the projected timeline for 6G and beyond system? So here on this particular slide, you can see the expected timeline for 6th generation and beyond. So most probably by 2030, we can expect to have some idea about 5G and beyond. Specifications can be drawn from 27 to 2031. This is the vision. And also 6G standardization we can expect from 26 to 2030, and 6G evaluation we expect from 28 to 2030. Now the 6G vision has already been started in 2021. We are studying, and yes, in terms of the release of document, then up to 2020 we have released 16. From 2021 we have released 17, release 18, and release 19 would be there from 24 to 2030, which in which we'll talk about 5G and beyond. Okay, so this is the basic timeline for sixth generation and beyond system. So coming to the conclusion, here to conclude the topics that I have covered today, mainly what we have covered is about energy efficiency part of 5G system. We have covered different technologies related to traditional methods and related to the harvesting methods. Also, we have discussed about a brief of evolution of 6G. So increasing pressure resulted from large power consumption and more public concern on sustainable development. The communication industry has set stringent energy efficiency as a key objective of 5G system. Okay, so that's why we are talking about green 5G. Also, key enabling technologies that are vital to the success of 6G and beyond systems are highlighted. 6G and beyond wireless system will be largely driven by a focus on wireless ubiquity, that is, the unrestricted availability of high-quality wireless access. The main research directions from the perspective of radio resource management are new architecture, green energy exploiting, and smart grid enabled network. So if we talk about resource management, so we can think upon these three areas of research. And of course, whole 6G and beyond is the area to explore. Yes, these are the references that I have followed. The main reference that I have followed is this, the 6G and beyond, the future of wireless communication system. So if you want to have a detailed study about sixth generation and beyond, then you can refer this paper. This is a very beautiful paper, and you can use this paper for your research also. There is also one 6G paper which is there. Which was published in IEEE Communication Magazine in March 2020, towards 6G network use cases and technologies that I have referred. This is a 5G white paper that I have referred here. Of course, one paper towards green 5G and soft 5G perspective, which was published in IEEE Communication Magazine. So you want to have green 5G or energy efficiency part of, so you can refer all those papers. Yes, thank you very much, sir. And if you have any query, you can contact me.
Yes, thank you very much, Sonam. Thank you, Dr. Meenakshi Awasthi, madam, for the elaborative and insightful talk on intelligent environment to realize communication in 6G wireless systems. Thank you very much for the session. Dear participants, this session is open for the queries. Please.
Sir, I can see one question which is there. Any challenges in 6G? So Lakshman Thakre, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, thank you, Mr. Lakshman, for this question. Actually, there are many challenges because it is not deployed till now. So we cannot talk about the challenges that are there in 6G. There are full of challenges because this is very initial stage to talk about challenges. Okay, so I mean, this is under research. 6G and beyond is under research. So that's why everything is a kind of challenge for us because 5G is already being installed in some country. It is installed, and in India it is under process. So I mean that today we have to think about the challenges of 5G. Once it would be completely deployed, then we can think upon 6G challenges.
Yes, any other, please? Okay, madam, I think, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you,
wonderful-
Aditya, sir. Thank you, Pankaj, sir, for inviting me for this wonderful session.
Yes, ma'am.
Pankaj, sir, you are on mute, I guess.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your nice informative session. And thank you very much once again for accepting our invitation. I will choose person, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Good day.
Thank you very much. Good day, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, dear participants. The next session will be start from 2:30 onwards. Now, please take for lunch. Thank you very much. Thank you all.